Okay, good morning, everyone. Rose Leacker here. I teach IST 301 Organizations and Technology, and we are so happy to welcome Jayme Goldberg. Welcome, Jayme. Jayme is the founder of Consequential Flowers, a private social media network company devoted to cultivating and empowering women leaders. We're happy about that. She co-founded Silverline Athletics, a consumer data and analytics company. She's been the chief strategy officer for Center Square Investment Management. Jayme has also been an investment analyst at GM Asset Management, and she's been a member of the External Advisory Board here at Penn State for Smeal College of Honors. Jayme graduated in '92 from Penn State with a Bachelor's of Science in Business with honors in finance from Penn State Smeal College of Business and Schreyer Honors College. And she has an MBA from Columbia. Welcome, Jayme.
Thank you, Dr. Oker. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm quite excited. I had a lot of fun preparing for today. My favorite thing to talk about is leadership and organization change and transformation. And I'm hope that we bring a lot of color and detail that is extremely memorable. That was the goal of this presentation, was to make things, you hear a lot, and it sometimes it's more than just words that will help you remember something. So my objective today is to help use this time that is very interactive. Dr. Oker explained how you are really laid back, casual. I want to keep that feel here. And I also specifically talked with Dr. Oker about having her jump in. And if there's something that I am saying that resonates with her, because you're all learning about that in your class, I welcome that. We are all in this together with Penn State, helping to build transformational leaders in the fourth industrial revolution. And I think you're just in an extremely powerful place with timing and with what your focus is, and especially on thinking about organization, culture, and technology right at this moment. And so I'm going to get started and share my screen. And then we will, I'm going to pause throughout and ask if there's questions. And we can do, I left plenty of time for Q&A at the end. Okay, everyone see the screen? Thumbs up. Okay.
Looks great, Jayme.
Excellent. Okay.
Love the color.
Well, there's this, we're going to come back to this color. Okay. This is really important. And I want you, this is what I want you to remember this color splash everywhere on this blank canvas. This is, let me just move and then I'll be all set. Okay. Consequential flowers, really quick overview so that you can hear Dr. Oker explain my background, having worked at very big companies, like Fortune 100 companies. I worked at Bank of New York Mellon and in GM, and then I left and I've done a lot of things with medium and smaller size companies and started my own. This is my second one. And the theme throughout all of this, because I only want to focus on what it will benefit you. And my goal is to help you stand on the shoulders of all I've learned. My goal, my theme throughout all of this is that I used technology and understanding technology to make ideas and movements and values, processes scalable and understood, bought into, collaborated on with the tool of technology. And I want to bring the brightness and the color out of these tremendous skills that you are all learning, because I know Penn State, and there's tremendous classroom and academic and practical skills. And what we're going to do is talk about the context about unlocking that vibrant color, so that you can really have an impact on the world, on a company, an organization, and feel intrinsic satisfaction from enjoying what you do. And that's really important. Um, what we're going to do, the intention overall, when you start a yoga class, you say, what's the intention for the day? It's to focus on leadership, and specifically leadership of someone who is graduating out of Penn State Information Sciences and Technology, and why I think that some things that I have learned and seen successful in firsthand, if you thought about now that you would have a mindset to accelerate your leadership in using that all you've learned academically to really have an impact and do the things that we said about having joy and enjoying the experience. So first we're going to get context, and there's going to be quick interactive questions. And being strategic, I'd ask your trust, and you'll see that in my strategy of the questions I asked, they may not seem related, but we're going to synthesize it, and I am going to do real-time manual natural language processing and take the interaction real time and then shape the messages and how we go through some of the recommendations and the leadership traits and examples um, in the case studies that that I've come up with. So what's going to happen, and then of course questions. If there is anything that I do not answer here that you aren't comfortable talking about on right now in a group setting, I'm on LinkedIn. You could email me anything you need. I've spent since 1992 really focusing on helping students in any way I can, all students. So please, the Consequential Flowers is just scaling that and using data and technology. So, oh, and these are beautiful crocus. I took them yesterday, and they are one of the first spring flowers. Okay, warm up. If everyone could take your phone and take a picture of the QR code and go, or you could go to slido.com and put in this number, the hashtag 577 5. You won't even have to put that in if you take the QR, if you don't have the QR code, and then put in a password, Blossom. There's a lot of security here. There's 3 levels of security. That's why I have all this. This is a warm up to give everyone time to open the app. And get comfortable using it. And you could put in more than one entry if you want to put a couple. Look, we're building a garden. Give everyone another moment, and you can always keep adding. I can send these to you, Dr. Oker, afterwards. Okay, so we're warmed up with our favorite flower color. Next, so that we have context, just vote for one of these. You want to be part of a startup because it is Startup Week, but that's okay. Not everyone wants to. That's fine. And this is an important question. I'm going to just take a note. Okay, so we have nearly high 70s, 80% of people who either eventually or possibly, 90% of people who see startups at some point. That said, what we are talking about 1000% applies to not being in a startup and working for a big company. So we're thinking we're going to get a framework to think about leadership with technology, and then depending on the size of the company or the stage of the company, you'll iterate on how you apply this framework. Okay. What are you passionate about? That means it could be pets, sports, mowing the lawn, technology, and put in a couple things. Chocolate. I am passionate about passionate people. I'm going to put that in. And leadership. And fitness. A lot of music, climate change. This is beautiful. This is so beautiful. Winning, swimming, helping. Awesome. Okay. I just want to digest this for a moment because we're going to think about it later. Health, sound. This is a really diverse set of passions. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. There are only, I think there are 4 or 5 of these, but then we're going to move on. Okay, how passionate are you about your college major? Okay, excellent. We have 30, 40, 50, 60, 75. Again, 75 people who are at the upper end of the range. And that's awesome. People's passions change, and many people in life, it's a gift to be able to find your passion. So being curious about what your college major is and how you apply it, I would say can make you even more passionate about what you're learning if you're thinking about it in the dimension of applying it in a passion area. So we'll get back to that. Okay, so going back to a concept of passion and how it correlates to bringing color and vibrance to enable you, really empower you to be a leader in the fourth industrial revolution, regardless of being in any size or any stage company. Applies everywhere. This is just an important point. I'm not writing a thesis about this. If anyone who has a data science project or wants to do a study, I definitely am interested. But what I've looked at, I took a leadership survey in the fall. That's how I started Consequential Flowers, always with the data first to figure out what I wanted to focus on, what was important to women to build a community and help them learn traits and concepts that weren't focused on in school. One of the things that I asked about I asked, there are about 50 women and a little over 108 students and about 50 experienced women leaders that took a survey. And I asked this question: how passionate are you about your industry? And with the young leaders or the students that were across all colleges, Penn State and other schools, you could see that they ranged. There was a scale from 0 to 100. So the 100 was really equated to a 10-star rating. So you could see that here. And people are falling in line. This group is falling in line with what other surveys that I've taken, even though these are women. It's just a sample set of, not claiming it is representative, but of the students. And then when you look at these experienced women leaders, and I surveyed them, these are women who reached a certain threshold in their career, like C-level women across all industries, various size companies, some very significant, and every industry, a lot of industries, a diverse set of industries. And what you can see, and it requires deeper research, is that there's a gravitation of the dots, which is along the horizontal x-axis of the score of 100, 0 to 100, asking the leaders who have reached certain milestones of success, how passionate are you? And this just gives us a little bit of hint that there's a correlation between people who have achieved success and what their passions are. So keeping this passion and the potential correlation that would require much deeper research is what I want to. It's enough for us to have this conversation and ask. It makes us ask more questions, which is what data is supposed to do. Okay. So that now this is this next question. We're going to tie this all together into recommendations that are actionable. First, we talked about passion. Second, how much do you think that you could teach an experienced colleague in your first year of your career post-college? And since we're in the IST school, we want to be very specific. What do we mean by teach? And I intentionally was vague there. And give people 10, 15 more seconds. This is a really important question. Okay, so what we have, let's look at this for a moment. We have $40, $50, $6, $58, not quite 2/3, like I did in my head, like 58% of this group at a 5 or below. So that's a scale. Like I'll clarify. So how much could you teach them? Excellent. Okay. This is the Women's Leadership Survey results. I'm going to compare them with the same set of women and survey respondents that I showed in the last one. The question was just tweaked. I asked them, the young leaders, the same as I asked you: how much could experienced colleagues learn from you, or how much could you teach them during their first year of full-time work? And same scale, 0 to 100. And the way this, looking across the x-axis, the results were 49 on average, and the mode, 33% of the women were at below 50. So it's an interesting, we don't know what the diversity of this, gender diversity of this group is, but it seems to be, we're still having a significant amount of people below a 50. In this class, it was just today, it was about 58%. And the experienced women leaders, their perception of how much a first year student, it wasn't specified that it was a woman, how much could that experienced leader learn from you coming out of college, your first year? And the scores were really all over the place. They were centered, the mean was 47, I believe, but the number that I remember is 40% of the women leaders who reached certain milestones had a perception that the value was under 50. How much they could learn from someone their first year out of school was a 50. So when you look at these results, I look at this like self-scoring of how much we, as coming out of school, like our first year, how much we perceive we can teach other people, and that I'm correlating with value, like new teaching is limited by our perception of our young leaders' perception of what they think they can do. Because you've heard it's all in your mind. Well, that's true. When you layer on, and something is multiplicative, like and it's something, a fraction, it gets smaller. So experienced women leaders have this additional layer. This could be if we surveyed male leaders, and it's not, and get a different answer. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into it again. Data leads to more questions, but there's this additional layer of limitation where experienced leaders do not perceive the value of what the young leader could bring in their first year. And when you put these two limitations together, it's cumulative and it limits people more. So that's what we're going to talk about. What if you look on that scale of 0 to 100 or 0 to 10, the closer we score to a 0, the more when I say we, it's the students coming out of school, because I was one too. So that's what the perspective I'm thinking of. The more blank the canvas is when we come out of school, and we're expecting that we have to learn everything. Like the color is what we can teach, our fresh perspective, what we know about technology, what we know about leadership, what we know about everything that we bring. And if you are pursuing a technology career in your point of passion, like music or climate change, you already know a tremendous amount about that industry, and all you're doing is now bringing it together. So whenever, this is what I wanted this visual to stand out, you're coming out of school with this color, and you are not a blank canvas that you're waiting for people to unlock the value that you can contribute. I'm going to prove this in a couple examples and give you a lot of time to ask questions about it. But so just think of this color, this colored canvas, and remember that that's you, especially in a passion industry or a passion purpose. So the leadership competencies, we're always thinking about like vibrant colors, and word choice colors are really important to convey message, and I'll get to that when we talk about everything, the examples. So we talked about passion, and a couple times this theme came up. Why is passion important, and how can it give you like a competitive advantage in your career and add more color faster? If you're going into an organization that is in your passion point, that already exists, that you're starting, you're bringing this dimension of your passion and purpose. And when you have that passion and purpose, it actually helps you be better at the communication, and that's number two, and the data magic art. That's a word I think I made up, and I'll say what it is. That's another thing I want you to remember when you leave, because you're always going to think about it. But this passion is going to fuel the next two things. Okay, this is going back to circumstances. Right now, an organization's ability to use their data in a way that adds value to their company is proven. Boston Consulting Group wrote a huge did a huge study on this. Everyone's talking about it. That this was an estimate that in the next 2 years, $800 billion of revenue is at stake in industries, that it's a land grab. If you're a company and you understand data and how to make use of that data, you have this huge advantage. And there's a lot of statistics that prove that a company will perform better if they understand their data, if they have data competency, just like a competency in writing or making shoes, whatever it is that you're doing, you have a competency in it, an expertise that stands out. So what's happening is that it's so obvious that personalization and data competency, understanding how to clean data, organize it, share it, is compelling. However, only 15% of all the brands surveyed by Boston Consulting Group are leaders, and only 7% have fully integrated, tailored communications across all of their organization areas. So when you go back to how organizations work and what the culture is and processes, how data is used, how performance is measured, only 7%, and the majority of those companies are technology companies. The rest of everyone else is, you say, why aren't companies trying to organize their data? Well, maybe they are. They just have, there are statistics showing there's a trend in focus, but there are huge barriers to master data competency. And data competency, again, using data, having connected systems, using technology in new ways to get to grow, to thrive a company and be prepared for the fourth industrial revolution. So this comes back to your technology, this organization class. There are, when you go into an existing company, there's technical barriers and data is not centralized. I've talked to a lot of people in IST, and the students with whom I've worked come into a situation and they're like, I can't believe how much processing there is to do with the data before we get it right. Now that might be boring stuff. However, that if you're passionate about climate change and you need to go clean data and do something that isn't as exciting, then you're completely driven to do it because you have this purpose in mind. There's culture that is a problem, and we're going to talk about that in the recommendations. There's lack of measurement, and then there's statistics with people not knowing a roadmap, not having the personnel, not having cross-functional coordination. They don't know technology, and the cultures aren't conducive. The good thing is leaders, CEOs are 50% of the people who are focused on responsible for data initiatives are the CEOs or the board. And that's a really, that shows who's paying attention to the subject, and it's pretty important. Those leaders, though, do not have a technology background. The role of the technologist to be a leader in the organization, to educate and connect all of the stakeholders, is really important, and companies, I believe, have a less of a chance of thriving without the technology leaders doing the leadership to communicate and educate, because it's a lot easier for I think for your mind in thinking in technology with a technology background than it is to apply it to business than it is for business people or other fields to apply and say, oh, I want you to do this with technology. It's just, if you can understand what they are doing and what the organization is doing, you're better positioned to be the lead. So that's why the technology leadership's role is vital. So I want to give you an example. This is in Consequential Flowers. We did a challenge where everybody submitted, what words do you associate with be fearless? And what we did, this is a simple data visualization going back to art data magic. And that, I'll bring that point here. This art, it's pretty cool, and it's the shape of our Consequential Flower logo. And what came out of this, getting the sentiment of our entire community, was that people associated courage and confidence, and that's this main theme that came out of this word cloud. So this word cloud is data. This word cloud is art data magic, because it brought out this energy and sentiment that would not have come out of a spreadsheet that had tallies on it. This screams, it says something with a visualization. Art data magic is something concrete that the CEO or anyone in another area of an organization can understand and make very concrete and just grab them. And I believe that when, in order to bring out your like new students, our color, the first year, and unlock the value of everything that you've learned in technology in your college career, that if you can convey in a way that is concrete and simple for all those other people who don't understand the technology, they don't understand what's possible, they, they do not know what can be done with data, and you do. And there's this gap of communication, of the application, this bridge. And what I am suggesting, and I've seen, and we're going to look at examples, is that it has been the technologist's role, and I've watched them successfully. And here's an example. Do something with data that made it gorgeous, like right in your face. This is easy to understand, and you don't need to explain to the CEO or the head of marketing, the head of development, the head of human resources, the head of customer service, like anything that how this was done. They just, if you show with them, it's like a communication, a validation. If you have understood what a business or a stakeholder is trying to do, and then it is up to you to figure out how to do something with the data that connects to what is important to them. So it is our job coming out of IST to draw that out, and that's you're breaking silos and not waiting to be told what to do. Our intern, Cassie DePaolo, I said one day, oh, I like word clouds. And then we thought of this. We did this, but it is time after time, it's been a visualization that has been really compelling. And we changed our entire focus this month to talk about the difference between courage and confidence. A case study too, this is where we're focusing our time. I had summer internships. There were 7 summer internships that we created last year that I created with different companies in IST. There are a lot of companies that pulled back because of COVID, and we were able to find opportunities. There are a lot of opportunities in disruptive times. We had 3 interns for SecureCore. This is a disaster planning and a disaster recovery contractor. This company goes around and cleans up and rebuilds after fire and water damage, floods, did COVID cleanup. And this company is a national company, and they have been in business for 30 years. They had no technology department, and they wanted to grow. So they had no one, not just department, they didn't understand technology, they didn't understand data, and they're really growing. So we created internship positions, and that the interns came in and they made recommendations for new software to license. They in modeling, in analysis, they onboarded a new CRM system, and they did a lot. What happened is that one of those interns ended up getting he proposed a position after and was offered a full-time job, and that's the case study I'm going to show you. So as you talking about being a leader, okay, being a leader, you're passionate, so that fuels your comfort of, I'd say, courage of looking forward. You don't get confidence till you've done it, but courage to go out and be that lead and to figure out what the stakeholders need to get context. So I put these words here, and they're not pretty, but I wanted you to hear it exactly and get this message like multiple mediums: writing, visual, and voice. So one of a technology company saw what we were doing this summer with the interns. We treated them and valued them as though they were 100 on this value scale. And we broke the box of having them wait to be told what to do. They couldn't wait to be told what to do because they didn't understand this data reconstruction, disaster cleanup business. And what these students did is they talked to all the stakeholders. They asked questions. They understood the business. They had a lot of exposure to different touch points in the business, and they just made sure they understood everything. And one organization, there's a very Fortune 100 company, saw what they were doing. They experienced it because they were working with them, the interns, and said, this is unheard of. It's rare and new, and I've never seen anything like it. And they said that their interns start at the bottom. They have no knowledge of a sales cycle, no understanding of how data flows. They don't understand stakeholder needs, what the value of data is, or how it's used. And junior employees need to go through tiers to get where your interns are now. And what I want to come out with this before we go to the next line is that the company didn't have any understanding of technology. So it wasn't like the company taught them anything about technology so that the students, the interns, could add value. They worked for 10 weeks, okay? And what they did is remarkable. That it's rare. And large companies specifically don't see this. They don't initiate it. It has to, breaking the box has to come from you. And taking that initiative and being confident of the confident in the colors on your canvas, because you have them, and when you can reach out and not wait to ask to understand stakeholder needs, and then you solve, you invent. You're so powerful. Show it back with something that's art data magic so that everyone is blown away. It's exciting. What they also said is that the person from the Fortune 100 tech company, if someone comes directly from college and can articulate data flow from beginning to end, they would have an advantage over anyone in the field with 5 years of experience. So we're talking about, again, getting away from being in a box or in a place that is defined, and reaching out of that box, breaking the box, so that you are the ones who are getting an understanding. You are talking to other people in the company so that you can take the initiative and invent a way to show back that you understand what this is important to the stakeholders, or you have a new solution or a new idea for a problem, just like came out of courage versus courage and confidence. Those came out, and we talked about the whole difference there. There's many examples for this. Now, you're not supposed to be able to read. For confidentiality reasons, I just changed it. You could probably translate it back. But what happened is that one of the interns said to this company, this national company that's fast growing in the construction area, that is doing a wonderful thing of saving homes, businesses, and lives, and has no data competency. They said, I'm proposing a new position. And they wrote this is amazing. Barzo, he's graduating from IST as applied data science with a minor in mathematics. And he was one of the interns last summer for SecureCorps. And he made a matrix of all of the things that a data analyst would do. Systems architecture. The company wants to create a university, looking at data quality, data analytics and development, looking at, is there cybersecurity that we need to be paying attention to further, or auditing? We have a mobile app. Who's doing that? The data analyst does that. And the technology partner management coordination. So what they did is they listed all the places that they saw that they could do something in with understanding applied data science and with their technical background. And they made for each functional area, a description of what it was, the responsibilities, what they accomplished to date during the summer, and which companies, there are 2 companies connected, would benefit, what the goals would be for the position year 1, and what the performance metrics would be. And Emmanuel got a job. He educated everyone. He educated the CEO about how data would be applied and what he's going to do. And he did there are visualizations. This was a visualization because there's just a lot of information that this company, it was a blind spot. They didn't even know that a data analyst existed before, or what they did. So the summary is that passion will fuel really anything that you do, and it will enable you to have an edge to add something additional to your fuel and your perspective, to bring color immediately. Not a blank canvas until 4 years or 5 years. It's now. And you have to bring that color and take the lead using communication skills and intent and partnership with something extremely concrete, like art data magic that conveys energy and message that would not be possible otherwise. And I've watched technologists do that, apply art data magic to educate and affect change, because they already have so much color. It's just historically been siloed into just this box of technology. So break that box. And I would ask, open for questions.
Jayme, would you like me to read the questions to you, or can you see the questions?
I do not see the questions.
Okay, the first question is, what does a data flow typically look like? Is it similar to marketing funnel?
The data flow is unique. While there's a framework, it is unique to that organization. For instance, if there is a retail company and that retail company is getting data from in-store purchases, they're getting data on a customer from their online engagement, and they're getting other data, psychographic data, they could be purchasing data, and they're getting from all different places, and then it's combined in a way to get a unique view of a customer, and then that data aggregated and organized can be then used in different ways, parsed different ways, presented different ways to different stakeholders. So the data flow is a really important area for technologists to understand in any size company.
Thank you. Here's the next question. How can you cultivate passion within an organization if its employees are resistant to change?
That's a very good question. And what I can say is that I have made the mistake sometimes of thinking that I could change a culture. And I believe that I know it takes a tremendous amount of energy to affect culture and that was one of the barriers, affect when people don't want to change. They don't want to change because they're threatened. They think their job might go away. They are a perception that they are losing power it's all a problem, and the decision of whether to try different things to affect change versus to make a decision, I don't belong here, is this isn't a good environment for me. That's an individual decision, and it was a discussion we had on Consequential Flowers, because a lot of the women in the survey, the experienced leaders, wrote in that without prompting. It just happened to be free text in a box, anything else you want to add. And they all wrote, many wrote, I wish that I had known earlier in many circumstances that it was the culture and not me for causing a failure or non-performance. So asking questions before you go somewhere about culture is a first step. And then after you're there, making some assessments to balance, like, is this culture really limiting and draining you, or is it a good challenge that I'm going to try to break these barriers and affect cultural change? That takes a lot of energy.
Thanks, Jayme. Here's another question. What was it like acclimating to industry out of school?
Wait, what was it like?
Acclimating to industry out of school.
Well, very fortunately, we love Penn State, and I ended up in a company where my mentor there happened to be a Penn State alum as well. So it was very friendly, and they invested in educating me, and that was fabulous. So it was exciting, and I went to work. My first day of my career, my car was stolen. That's how it all started. So what was it like? I immediately associate my car being stolen in Arlington, Virginia. So my car was stolen. Penn State alum, amazing, and third, I think that I had to get used to this schedule, this fixed schedule of all day, every day. I was used to the flexibility, and that was hard.
Thank you. What strategies for developing leadership do you recommend?
I recommend making it an intentional practice. When you are a runner or a performer on Broadway, anywhere, those people don't show up and do a performance or win a marathon or at a track meet. What happens, or basketball, they are intentionally practicing. And that's what we are doing on Consequential Flowers, is we're practicing different things that make us become better leaders as women. So one example, I'm only thinking this at the top of my mind, but we gave ourselves a challenge to count how many times we apologized in a week, and we took a tally. And what that did, and we shared it with each other, that made us intentionally focus on not apologizing and giving away our power. We practice when someone interrupts, what are the things we could say? Like those behaviors, that's a mindset. And this leadership strategy is this daily mindset that I would keep, not just, oh, I'm going to take a class in leadership. This is like practicing for a run or anything else that you're performing. You don't just show up in a boardroom and get heard. There's a lot of work along the way so that it's automatic and peak performance when you get there.
Thank you, Jayme. Here's another question. I'm seeing that with breaking the box, that there is a big theme of change versus tradition. Is there value with fresh perspective that us young hires have when entering established businesses?
The answer is yes, and that's why on this final slide, that summary, I wrote 100. You are a 100. We are 100 coming out of school. Now, it is really important to keep that in your mind, like change your perception now. And that's why I showed that really bright colored canvas. You are a 100 that is full of color. So again, yes, that you can do that. There is a balance, and everything is science and art, and the art part is assessing a culture before you go there, and then assessing it while you're there real time, and making sure that this positive of driving cultural change and trying things is actually benefiting you, and that the resistance is not outweighing what those benefits are. And only you yourself can make that assessment before you go somewhere. The answer is, if you go to a company and you are at an interview and all the indications and the questions you ask are that we do things the way we are, the answer is no, there will be no value, because the culture will suffocate it and it'll take out the vibrance of your color. So underwrite culture before you go.
Thank you, Jayme. I'm keeping an eye on to see if any more questions are coming in.
Anybody else have any questions for Jayme?
Anyone can write afterwards, reach me at jayme@consequentialflowers.com. Everyone's invited to join while we focus on specific issues specific to leadership development for women ages 18 to 26. Everyone is welcome, and the like concepts about we're not an all women community. There's a lot of men there as well. It's just all people who are focused on and get joy out of lifting up and building other people. That's what I think is special.
All right, well, thank you
Here's what-
very much, Jayme. Is there anything else?
I would
before we go?
I would just leave you with the snowdrops. Do you see those again?
Beautiful.
Yes. So snowdrops are one of the first flowers of spring. They are a flower that symbolizes hope, and they sometimes grow out of the snow. So hope and resilience, and the faster you and more we all realize the color on our canvas right now, the more and faster impact you're absolutely going to have, and the more joy you'll find. And call for anything, not just me. There's 800,000 people more in the alumni network, and we are all here for each other.
Hey, Jayme, one more question came in. Do you mind answering it?
Please.
Okay. What strategies for developing leadership do you recommend?
Jayme, did you answer that one already?
It was similar. I said focus daily. I think I did focus daily.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Peggy, she answered that one already. Is there anything else?
Nope, there's no more questions in the box, Rosalie or Jayme.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My students, before we cut out, my students, hop over to our Zoom room on our class website, please. I'll be there in a second. Jayme, thank you so much for your words of wisdom and encouragement and your willingness to help our students. We really appreciate connections with people like you. So
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Jayme.